First, I just want to thank everybody for coming. There's always a lot going on, and I also wanted to say, Manifesto, the idea of this place, and the so many people who hold it together. And you know, I remember coming to Toronto when it was more fractured, when we first started coming out to Toronto, and there wasn't as much. There was a scene, but it was broken up. And I think the beauty of Manifesto is this community, and community evolves and works because of contributions, and it's not any individual, but you do have people who stay in the middle of that and push it. And, you know, Che and the whole crew, I'm amazed at how much it grows every year, and what I see happening, and that I see it vibrating in different parts of the world, in Jamaica, or hearing about it rolling around the States or in Europe, and it's just really cool. So it's great to be here, and then to get a chance to sit with a guy who has the greatest name I've ever heard. It's such a good name. He spells it wrong, but you know, it's a good name. No, I've been fortunate enough to, I think the first time met Saul was maybe, I can't even, might have been 10 years ago. It was in Ottawa, and with Chaos, and I was already a fan of the work. And I think that what inspires me about Saul is his courage to really follow what's speaking to him creatively, to not be assigned a role. It's a rare cat who wins one of the highest acting awards that's out there in his first film, and realizes that then, you know, the bright lights of Hollywood are calling, but they're asking him to portray things that he doesn't believe in, the roles that are usually reserved for black men in American cinema, and then does an about face and decides, I'm actually going to do music. And the first question is, but you don't do music? And he's like, yes, actually I do. I'm a poet and I'm going to do that. And then goes on to not only do it, but do it exceptionally well and work with some of the greatest producers in the world, and continuing to do that, and continuing to act and write books, and just then pop up and say, hey, you know, I'm moving to Paris. I'm only 4 years ago. And that's not what people do, especially in the confines of what Black America is. And he's a bridge builder and a bridge walker and a real inspiration. And I'm like so happy to be here. And I think that I know everybody that is here came together on the idea of manifesto. What's your manifesto? And so the first thing I just want to say, it's the simplest question of the day, but probably complicated at the same time, is what is your manifesto? You know, that creed that's driven you.
Well, I think that, and hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. I think that my older sister gave me my manifesto when I was about 13 years old. She was already in college. She was studying at Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. And she came home from school, and she was like, she came home from college break and was like, all right, no more Coca-Cola products in the house, no more Reebok, no more this, that, and the other. And we're like, what? She's like, they're all invested in apartheid in South Africa. And so, no, not in this house. We are not going to support that in any way. And she calls me Stacy, that's her middle name. She was just like, and Stacy, I want you to do, I don't know why she's so authoritative on this day. You should do your next school report on apartheid. I'm going to give you some material and what have you, and you should do that. Primarily, almost as if she were not only thinking that I should learn about it, but she knew that at that age, when you do a school report, usually you have to share it with the class. You know, so like she was a step ahead, you know? And so with the stuff that she was feeding me, I remember she fed me this essay on civil disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. And in there was a quote that she highlighted for me, which was, most of all I must see to it that I do not lend myself to the evils which I condemn. And that became my manifesto from that point on.
Secretary of Statistics, Minister of Celebrity and Justice, Chief of Staff and Serpent, Blessed page-turner of the great book of misdeeds and overestimations, Bishop of the great climate war, Ministers of the deteriorating sky, barren of epic boredom and self-indulgence, all gathered notables, good evening. I greet you on behalf of the great almighty who was unable to pull himself from what many are calling the greatest unscripted reality show of all time, the very conducting of your lives and attitudes. We're very proud of the success of our show and network. Not only have we created racists, bigots, arrogant countrymen, patriots, heartless capitalists, but we have also maintained our position as the misbegotten, the pure of heart, the heavenly dove, the docile lamb, and the forgiving wife. If our great almighty could be with us this evening, he would surely want each and every one of you to know that he graciously accepts your inability to pay your rent, and that he is willing to allow you to do some of his work so that we might lessen gaps between the employed and unemployed. It's not easy to sit back and allow countless genocides, watch innocents murdered, see trickery and deceit override common sense and human compassion, and keep one's thumb held steadily on the remote control.
Both of my parents were activists. Both of my parents were civil rights activists. And I can say that they had a lot of integrity, because it wasn't as if my father was a Baptist minister, he was a pastor of a church, my mother was a school teacher, and the stuff that they were passionate about from the pulpit or in the classroom, they were also passionate about at home. So I can say they had a lot of integrity, because it wasn't like they said something out there and didn't practice it in the house. And so I would say that I came from what I would call a culturally middle class family, which is not to talk about money, it's to say, I'm saying culturally middle class, which is basically to say there were a lot of books and a lot of discussion about people like Paul Robeson or Odetta or Pete Seeger would sing at my father's church, or, you know, like, so when I'd be like, who's this, you know, white man singing on my father's pulpit again, and he's singing the songs we sing in school, like, if I had a hammer, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't realize he wrote them years later. That's Pete Seeger. You know? But, you know, my parents were always, you know, not even making a point of loving artists that had some sort of social purpose connected to their art. I don't even know if they realized that's who they loved. Maybe it's just a part of their generation. But when it came time for me to start loving people, I was loving KRS-One and Public Enemy and all the artists that had something to say, you know? And so, because success for me doesn't necessarily mean what success might mean in the Hollywood sense or what have you, when I met opportunity, I was prepared in the way that my parents prepared me, and to find the sort of success that brings me here to you today, which is what I call success, you know? So, which is to say that how did you make those decisions? The decisions came naturally. That's just what's there.
But you managed to not compromise those decisions. I mean, I think you don't necessarily know when you're on it, but you know when you're off, and you have that feeling, and you honor that, and you speak to success, which I think kind of come to this thing as of late around with one of the greatest opportunities I feel of our generation at this moment in time is to change the idea of what success and leadership looks like. And how would you speak to redefining that and the opportunity that exists to do that in this time of really radical change? Where do you think that's going? Like, how do you, because we've been told success was one thing.
One thing, yeah. Well, I mean, for my answer to most questions, the reason why I'm an artist is because I believe in the power of the arts. So I believe that we do it creatively. I believe that we do it through some sort of creative expression. Yeah, essentially, that's why I see it. I think that we have to provoke the change that we want to see. We have to fuck with people. We have to blur the lines. You know, we have to make things that are hard to define, that leave them like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? Whether that's Michael Jordan's jump or, you know, the way whoever the fuck is rapping. Like, well, how do you even do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to continue to, like, you know, Hendrix and Coltrane it up. Right. You know, which means that we have to be courageous enough to step out of our uniforms, you know, to like, even now I think, because I believe that with time we become, well, I say we, actually you guys are dope. you guys are, you know, I'm watching you all from a very African American, meaning USA American perspective. And what I see here is something that I don't see a lot of there, to be completely honest. And I get around a lot over there. And so, one, I just want to applaud you guys for being as special as you are. And so I don't want to assume that when I say we, I can speak to, you know, I realize that the issue that many of us are addressing is essentially an American issue that has, you know, somehow infected and affected, you know, the global reality, and it affects, you know, how people think, what people value, and what have you. And I think that, it's not that I think that, it's clear that, you know, in an age where there are not necessarily readily available, you know, famous, well, there are now, but you think 10 years ago, the idea of famous philosophers and thinkers and what have you, pre-TED, you know, you know, and all that shit, you know, like, so that when kids are ingesting someone who's like, you know, yeah, you can come to my house, but you got to be out by 6 in the morning, or like, you know, I don't want to talk to you unless your money is right, or all this type of shit that essentially, like, you know, like I dumb down my lyrics to double my sales. That whole mentality is dangerous. It's dangerous because it is a neglect of an opportunity. It involves negligence, because there's no way we cannot be clear when there's not that many who have that opportunity. And so, well, how do we approach that without becoming too dogmatic and making people stick to some, you know, orthodox rules of what you're supposed to do there? I think what we do is we provoke it. We provoke it through even greater creativity. So we don't say the industry want that, they're trying to do that, or da-da-da-da. We say, oh yeah, that's cool, I like your style, it's got a little something on it, but check this out. And just provoke it. Because we also know that things go in cycles. You know? And so there's a time and place for everything. There's a time for the bullshit to win. You know? That, you know, how else are we gonna recognize the other shit if we don't, you know, having, you know, like they say, by labeling something ugly, something else becomes beautiful. By labeling something beautiful, something else becomes ugly.
I'd begun to believe my blackened toenails were on path to decay, when in truth they had begun the gradual process of crystallization. I am he who walks in wind-scorned feet with toenails of amethyst and rose quartz, my path now crystal clear. I am come to tell you she is here. It is not written. No penmanship was ever cargoed with her character. Note, books are carefully folded forests, void of autumn, bound from the sun. Likewise, she made residence on the outskirts of history, on the dark side of the moon, where the searchlight of the sun cannot spot her nor rot her, the seed of forbidden fruit. Every tree has a hidden root, yet she has come to light, the swelling patch of vibrant dreams. And to think of the girlfriend I was tempted to break up with because she slept too much. I now know. They nurtured her there. They slept in packs, dreamt in cycles, nursed her in ships, and became her on rotation, unnamed every time she was named, that she would not be recognized anyone other than herself. They blindfolded her and spun her in circles that she would find a way here but other means and her intuition. And she has come. I'm a simple, disoriented man in her presence. I wear my loincloth over my eyes and ejaculate too soon. Forgive me, Father, if I have sinned. I prayed to you and cupped the wind, and in doing so barred her entry into a century, 100 years of solitude. I will now pray with my hands outstretched, with these psalms etched into my palms. Most beloved, I'm certain of nothing more than your existence. 1,000 ants clung under a log may find themselves exposed in my childlike search for you. My colleague, flower.
We all want to lose our minds and find our, you know, like our pelvic region set free. You know, like we all want, you know what I'm saying? We all want all of that shit. We want all of it. you know, so that the main thing is we provoke balance. And I say we do that through creative expression, so that instead of sitting back and be like, oh, this can never happen, this is the underground, this is the mainstream. Nah, but the mainstream is the ocean. What we see as mainstream is really like oil slicks on the ocean. That's the shit that's polluting the ocean. We are the mainstream. We can step into that. And so for me, whatever award or whatever opportunity came, whether that's, you know, through putting books out through MTV, poetry books through MTV, and doing a deal where it's like, and if you're going to put out the book, then you have to do commercials or videos for the poem and play them on MTV. Yeah. And you would think that they'd be like, hell no. They're like, how did you think of that? That's great. Yes, let's do it. You know?
You've destroyed me with your love. No longer am I eligible for any workers' pension. My friends laugh at me and talk about me behind my back. They say that you've changed me, and I am. I'm like a survivor of the flood, walking through the streets, drenched with God, surprised that all the drowned victims are still walking and talking. Maybe there's hope. I rush to each victim's side, sucking what I can of you out of your various incarnations, pumping their stomachs and filling them. To touch them is to touch you, to kiss them is to kiss you. My friends, love is an art form, slightly removed from its element. Now one may ask, so what does this mean? I respond, I've made it up, but it shall be from now on. From now on, cities will be built on one side of the street, so that soothsayers will have wilderness to wander and lovers space enough to contemplate a kiss. She kisses if she alone could forge the signature of the sun. I closed my eyes, although I never knew the difference. I stood before a brighter light, at lesser distance, and then a feeling. Almost as if nothing will ever bound to be repeated ever again, as if history had been as masterfully created as the Great Pyramids, and to reconstruct or relive any given moment would have to stem from an understanding of how the pyramids are built from the top down. And if one could understand such majesty, one would also understand that pyramids are first made of flesh, and that kisses are portals.
The idea of manifestation is kind of, because of the word itself, it feels like a foreign idea, right? It's kind of presented to us as something that lives out there and is mystical and almost impossible to achieve, when in fact we manifest every single thing that we do.
Yeah.
What this group gathered here today is a manifestation of ideas and emails put into process, and people getting up this morning and remembering that they were going to be here, and we were sitting here now and having this conversation.
Exactly.
I'm manifesting putting my hat back on.
Yeah.
It's and
which is to say that the present is the present, dictated by what you asked for previously.
Exactly.
You know, what's great is that, you know, you and I, you know, we actually had music on the radio to back us up. While you're talking, I'm thinking about Gangstar, like these are the words that I manifest. I manifest. Right. I was just like, I used to sing along with that shit, and that proves my point exactly. It's like that's what we would sing along to, and thus we are here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a whole other shit when we talk about the prison industrial, you know, system and all that shit. That's what they learned to sing along to, and thus they are. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's this shit where it's like, okay, well, if we can realize the power of what you nod your head to.
I was shaking with breath, shifting through hidden corrals and passageways. I will find my way to eternity within you. When I can feel you breathing into me, I, like a stone gargoyle atop some crumbling building, spring to life a resuscitated angel. I sweep through city streets, my wings outstretched, making mothers clutch their young. And remember, and do you remember, dear ones, or has your history forsaken you? There are mysteries coded in song, chants sung round fires, all incantations calling forth this day. On this day, the drunks bombing in unison. The last night they drank from different cups. Children that complain, introducing their parents and visible friends. A country girl smiles and two trees blossom out of season. Sea suns awaken, our mother has returned to wave us from uncertainty once tidal. Twice born of wooden ships, thrice formed from mother's hips. Mother ships raise two lips, a poet's garden. Two provide the going fast and future's thriving. That's change, I heard my name, the river's parting. Hurry up things, hurry up, the sun is darkened. Rivers like oceans, oceans like answers. Questions in cloud forms, raindrops and stanzas. To be or not to see or not to. She had eyes like two turntables mixed in between. My dreams and reality blended ancient themes. The basis of Isis cross-faded to Ankh. The beat drops like a cliff overlooking my heart.
My parents did me a big favor. When I was 12 years old, I was begging them to, I grew up in New York, begging them to take me to audition for The Cosby Show. Around that time, you know, Drew Barrymore was 12 years old and in rehab, and my parents were just like, fuck that. They were like, you know, but we're not trying to discourage you. So instead of taking me to audition, they signed me up for acting classes at HB Studios in the Village. And when I went to that acting class, I went from wanting to be on TV, i.e. wanting to be famous, to wanting to be good. Because we would sit in class like this and two people would come up and do something like this, and then we'd sit back and critique. I believed it. Ah, it was a little real, but then at that moment, blah, 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 blah. So you started to want to do well in class. You wanted to start to really practice being good as an actor. And from that point on, I never thought about being famous. I thought about having all the opportunity that, yeah, that comes with it, but I never thought about that. So I was just like, yeah, I want to do a film with him. I want to work with that. That would be interesting. And I was just focused on being good, right? So, as I got near the end of like school at NYU, I remembered like Spike Lee coming out with a movie like Clockers or something, whatever, Mekhi Phifer close in age to me, and me being like practically jealous. You know, like I'm so close, I can't wait till it's my turn, fuck, I hardly watched this movie, you know? and I remember this little, you know, I'm just being honest, I remember the little, you know, thing in my head that was like, no, you're actually better off, instead of searching for the spotlight, trying to harness your own light, because if you harness your own light, it'll come to you. And so now when you talk about Rick Rubin came to me. Trent Reznor came to me. You know what I'm saying? Amazing. So that's how that came about. It was completely unexpected. Yes, I was thinking of making an album for my first album. You know, I was in the process of getting jerked by someone who was trying to be a middle person and trying to get me a deal. You know, and right as that was happening, I got a call from Rick Rubin like, "Can I talk to you?"
6,000 feet above sea level, 3,300 bodies disassembled, the head bones connected to the cockpit, knee-jerk ass backwards dancing slaves in the mosh pit, punk rock of Gibraltar, roll out, nothing's new, more blood dies in Mohawk, only this time it's you, and you never loved her for what she possessed, you powdered her face and came on her headdress, oil slick feathers, putrid stench waterbed, Mother Nature's a whore, said the shotgun to the head, and it smelled like Teen Spirit, angst-driven, insecure, a country in puberty, a country at war. The greatest Americans have not been born yet. They are waiting patiently for the past to die. Please give blood. Those crumbled tablets were to share a story with the burning bush. Where is that voice from nowhere to remind us that the holy ground we walk on, purified by native blood, has rooted trees whose fallen leaves now color code a sacred list of demands? Who among us can give translation of autumn hues to morning news? The anchor man thrown overboard has simply rooted us in history's repeating cycle. A nation in its saddened years that won't acknowledge karma. Where is that voice from nowhere, the one your prophet spoke of? For I hear voices of fear, disconnected from diaphragms, dangling from coffee-covered teeth that spill into our laps and scorch our privates. There are voices from the sides of necks, some already noosed, dangling participles, pronouns, running for sentence, serving life in corner offices and ghetto corners. Their voices are the same, dead to themselves, numb to the possibility of truth existing beyond that which they can palm in their hands, period. There are voices of elders, which seem to do no more than damn us to our childish ways, for in many households, wisdom no longer comes with age. So where is that voice from nowhere, that burning bush, that passing dove? For I hear the voices of generals calling for ammunition, presidents calling for arms, and women calling for help. Where is that voice from nowhere, that God of Abraham? Can he be heard over the gunfire, the whiz of passing missiles, the crash of buildings, the shriek of sirens, the crack of bones, the cries of children? Or is that his mighty voice, your angry God praising the sacrifice of virgin generations, sons to generate? Your holy books written in red ink on burning sands. Your prayers between rounds no more than fasten the fate of your children to the hammered truth of your trigger. A truth that mushrooms its darkened cloud of the rest of us, so that we too bear witness to the short-lived fate of a civilization that worships a male God. Your weapons are phallic, all of them. That dummy that sits in your lap is no longer a world-class spectacle. His shrunken, pale face, he did a room for imagination. We have spited and moving lips that pin the voice to its proper source. It is a source of madness, a source of hunger for power, a source of weakness, a source of evil. We are exiting our coliseum and encircling our box office, demanding our families back, our cultures back, our language back, our gods back, so we return them to their proper source, the source of life. The source of creation, our mother's womb, the great goddess. We will cluck through the barbed wire hangers and chastity belts. We will climb in and incubate our spirits through the winter. We will wait the degenerate course of your repeated history. We will wait for the past to die.
My relationship with money is like anybody else's relationship to money. I like when I have it, you know what I'm saying? And I live above my means. You know, Oscar Wilde said, "You crazy if you don't." You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so like I'm a hustler at heart. I'm a hustler. And you know, one person could say that I go where my heart leads, and I could also just as easily say, well, yeah, I've also gone where the money has been in the same way. The two are parallel. I believe that when you invest in your passion, that pays off better than anything else, you know? So that you know, my father, when I said he was supportive, and he was, but there was one instant that kind of traumatized me for like a good moment of my life, which was when I announced I wanted to be an actor. My father was, "I'll support you as an actor if you get a law degree," which was to say, get money, get security. And my mother said, then you should do your first school report on Paul Robeson, who was a lawyer, who was an actor, who was a singer, who was an activist, who was an athlete. And so, when I was a junior, or maybe, I think it was my junior year, maybe my sophomore year, end of sophomore year in college, up until then I was planning on going to law school, as I had been from the moment my dad said that. Because I was on some please daddy shit. And only at that moment did I think, wait, why the fuck would I put my energy towards something to fall back on? Do that, I might fuck around and fall back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna do is gonna put all of my constructive and creative energy into what I wanna do. And it was that moment that I decided that, not that I was gonna drop out of school and move to Hollywood, but remember I had said previously that I realized that I just wanted to be good. So it was like, well then these actors here, a lot of them seem to be going to NYU and Yale. I wanna go to one of those schools. I wanna study it more. I'm gonna try and get my master's in acting and really like do that. And so I made that decision. I had no beat from home when I made the announcement that I was gonna do that. So it was just something that resonated in my head. My dad only said that once, but it stuck with me as if he said it every day.
Right.
You know? That's why I don't say shit to my children. Ever. No.
Doesn't even
I
talk
don't
to
even say
them.
good morning. Good morning.
I came in the door, I said it before, the future's mistress is history's whore. Ate the whole fucking apple, nigga, even the core. Saw the seed, made her bleed, now she's begging for more. Ancient Judaic law, culture pumping out core. Gold knock on the door, open shut like a pour. Now who's gonna take the weight? It's your birthday, take the cake. Blow out the candles, I wait in the darkness like a vandal. The silhouette of set in the mirror. On the mantle, fireplaces in the heart. Water places the art. Round the islands of design, Rome's primitive stock. Sacrificing their daughters, these primordial waters. Carry a feminine agenda that no man ever taught us. Truly captured in quarters, since for the sodas and borders. Constituted in lauders, since all the truth that they taught us. We rebelled and they fought us. We conformed and they formed us. Now you niggas rhyme about material possessions. False idols, false gods, revering false titles. People with the platinum cross. He floss Bibles, check vitals, recitals, fathers under denial. Throw mama from the train and derail every child, rape of a nation. Off be complete, blood of the Haitian. Diaspora divided defeat, Euro invasion. Legs spread round midnight. Hold sir, girl, don't fight. Nurtured, see despite. Dawn totally light, back to basics. Back to the streets, tradition A6. The Tigra hoodie fitted in neat. Graffiti capers, the spraking vapors. Wrong side of the track. Third rail, shock treatment. The arm bringing them back. Unwrap the mummy. Replace his heart, feed him, he's hungry. Remind him of his nature, divine. Pictures on money. Cashing on melanin, top of spine. He cries for mommy. Mommy's getting raped right now. Greco-Roman fate somehow. Tummins running late so she feels her own escape. She feels the music. Sign of the timeless flight of broomsticks. Over the floor, the marital law, the jump off movement. Rhythm and blues, hips raise acoustic. Wine of the waist, not one case, son of improvement. Movement, grind to unwind the muse of music. Even tonight she moves despite her darker blues get. New strings like a pendulum. Whip crack across back again. Simon bids is helping them. DJ Two Worlds blend, feel the music. Some of you got you programmed like a beat. When I press nail, guard your girl, press kick you, move your feet, you can't compete. I got my hydrants parked on every street. I'm veteran nigga, son of son, come close and feel the heat, I am the streets.
I remember when I was making my first album and I was like, because when I made my first album, you know, like, there was a lot of money involved. And also there was a publishing, I didn't even know what a publishing deal was, so I was excited about the number for the album, you know? Yeah. And then I get a call, like, there's another offer for the same number for a publishing deal as well. I'm like, what the fuck is a publishing deal? And how are they offering numbers like that? Right. You know what I'm saying? And then MTV Books and all this shit, and all this money was there. And me, I was very much just like, well, I have nothing against making money, but I'm not gonna start singing about it. That was my shit, you know? And I remember after Rick Rubin handed me the Beatles' White Album, I remember the first song that I wrote, which I had never put on an album, you know? And the lyrics were like, Ayn Rand has done a great job of confusing me, right at the part where this music meets my artistry. I want to reach 1 million people, open up 1 million hearts, but by the time that I do that, by that time will I remember where these simple passions start. And if I do it, must you hear it in my lyrics? Must I go on about the gun, drugs, and hysterics? That was the thing of just like, at that moment, I was very much like protecting myself through my writings. Like I was writing about, I will not let this shit dictate who I become. That's not, you know, like, I guess that was the necessary exercise for whatever reasons. You know, it's not to say that, you know, I haven't enjoyed or earned, I did. And I also was made a point of, it's not even making a point of being generous, what have you, it's just like.
And that's back to manifestation. I think also the thing is like you also have this like, one thing I've always struggled with, and that if you give a shit, right, if you care, like if you know you want what your contribution is to matter, we kind of presented this idea that you have to choose between that and like if you want to make money, then you can go over here and have a career, make money, and have big house and car and all this stuff. And if you care, you got to show up with like holes in your shoes with a picket sign outside the place. Fuck that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, no one even really wants to see that. They want to see fly. Yeah. They want to see like, yo, what's up? They want to see new shoes. And that's fine, because I like new shoes.
And that, yeah, and that was my shit too. I was never, you know, like, just because, you know, like, me, what I believe in that represents the underground, what I believe in it is the shit that is its infiltration of the mainstream, and it's affecting, you know, culture to the point of, you know, perhaps transitioning aspects of reality, if only for its cycle. You know, for those kids that grow up listening to that, thinking about that, because that's what was the shit of their moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe in those cycles, and I believe in those intersections with them. I was never about, like, nah, but I was also capable of saying no to money as well. Right. You know, there were also opportunities when money came and it was not aligned with what I was interested in. And it was just like, yeah, no. You know, so it was just all about the balance. You know, but it also had to do with, I think, not putting money in the, you know, in the driver's seat. Money was always in the passenger seat. You know what I'm saying? It was never driving the car around.
Let me mold the guitar of your bodily bazaar. Strap your tongue, pour your lungs, string your toes and bows that precede the rain. Shall serpent symphonies in your name. Mother of countless, daughter, the tricks of time. It is your trust and grind that defines us. We are the offspring of your decapitated head, the bastard sons of Father Time. Let Saturn be reborn a girl. Let her nurture her children rather than eat them. Hide them away from our forefathers and the angry ghosts of Christmas past. Let them be raised away from the phallic dangers of our times. Let their secrets remain secrets until we are ready to cherish them as our own. Nurture and adore them, the timeless secrets of creation, the darkness that yields light, the seed that bears fruit, that mother that bears the cross of her fathers and her fathers' fathers, who beat her when she bore no sons. His raised fist, the original boom bap. Spin that record backwards, nigger to nigger, before. John the Boom Baptist, bring me his head, his dick, his eyes and teeth, his arms are free, bring me all that is mine, all that has been buried, scattered or lost, until history is ours again. Mother of night and wind song, daughters of dust and detriment, nameless. Fuck it. let them remain nameless. It won't stop their truths from prevailing because it is not written, because it don't matter anyway, because there's nothing you can do about it, because there's no excuse or explanation, and that's reason enough to dance, even when your feet hurt. Dance like the fires of hell are upon you and you're dodging every flame. Dance when it tastes good. Dance when the spirit moves you. Dance because you don't have to be taught how to jump and slide and land on the good people who are taking off the fly. Nigga, dance. Dance, nigga. Paint your faces, shine your shoes, pop that collar, shake it, wind it, kick right back, choke, quick break, neck back, jump back, this break, up rock, peace, pop, lock, break, don't stop, snap, break, into ferocious song and dance, calculated movement, gestures of prayer and invocation, dance, your life depends on a cakewalk, Lindy, Charles potatoes, mashed potatoes, camel walk, hot pants, hustle, electric boogaloo, Patty Duke, Steve Martin, P.B. Herman, prep walk, rooftop, cabbage patch, chicken head, rattle, rock, tap, pump snake, break, you wish you could dance like this, you wish, standing there, high posting, you wish, and our American Idol is Fantasia. You know you want me, Mickey, you can't afford me though, my name is Saturn Pluto, I ain't no Disney hoe. Sing it, girl, sing it. Southern trees bear strange what? Sometimes I feel like a motherless what? Drop beats like bombs in Alabama churches, Afghani libraries, New Jersey Timberlake, the Sphinx's nose, cracking Compton, AIDS in Africa, smallpox and blankets, blue-eyed Jesus, the Holy Ghost, and all the mother-colored women, fallen soldiers and noblemen, mother turn whore, turn graves, turn to each other and help us turn tables, nails sharp as needles, Vaseline on faces, scratch, break, kick, snare, break, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, snare, kick, chop and screw it. Break it down beneath labyrinthine corridors of anguish and despair. The chamber the bullet travels, chamber of commerce, tunnel vision of the train over tracks. Not you listen to Rock Him and a Rocky Mountain top if you heard hip-hop. Extract the urban element that created and let an open wide countryside illustrated. Riding in a freight train in the freezing rain, my reality been insane. I think I saw Jesus. He was playing hopscotch with Freddie Carter, who was cursing him out in the scalp like gibberish for not saying butterfingers. And my fingers run through grains of sand like seeds of time. The pains of man, the frames of mind which built these frames, which is the structure of our urban superstructure. The planes and planes corrupt, obstruct your planes of thought. You forget how to walk through the woods, they ain't good because they never walk through the trees. Listen, nobody beats the biz, you ain't never heard hip-hop. And you don't stop, and you don't stop, and you must stop letting cities define you, confine you to that which is cement and brick. We are not a hard people. Our domes have been crowned with the lights of steeples. That which is our being soars with the eagles and the Jonathan Livingston seagulls. Yes, I got wings, you got wings, or God children got wings. So let's widen the circumference of our nest, escape this urban incubator. You see, the wind plays the world like an instrument, blows through trees like flutes, but trees won't grow in cement. And as heartbeats bring percussion, fallen trees bring repercussion. Cities play upon our souls like broken drums. We drum the essence of creation from city slums, but city slums need our drums, and our drums become humdrum, because city slums have never been where our drums are from. Just a place where our daughters and sons become offbeat heartbeats, slaves to city streets where hearts get broken when the heartbeats stop. Broken heartbeats become breakbeats for niggas to rhyme on top, but they rhyme about nothing.
In terms of the portrayal of women, in terms of, I mean, I put the past, 2,000 years in a nutshell as it's been about controlling women and enforcing free labor. That's pretty much what it boils down to. And when the Roman Catholic Church, took the idea of the feminine out of the idea of the Trinity, they distorted reality, And so from that point forward, I see all of that shit like, fuck. You gotta, you have to find a way to step away from your comforts and beliefs so that you can find, like we say, beliefs are the police of the mind, which is to say, fuck the beliefs, you gotta, it comes from a journal entry I've been reading on stage recently. I found it recently, been like, I like that. But the point is that, like for example, I look at, it took me a big thing to, and also didn't, to step away from the idea of religion even, and not to say that I don't respect those who practice and the practice of religion. I think religion is a beautiful and often necessary discipline, crutch to help us stand upright in our understanding of humanity, each other, compassion, God, love. But I use the word crutch. A beautiful crutch with, marble columns and stained glass windows. But you never say, you know, that you belong to your crutches. Your crutches belong to you. And if you've ever used crutches, broken leg, knee, ankle, foot, you know that there's some point where you may not feel ready, but the doctor says it's time to take off the cast. You need to practice walking without your crutches, because if you don't, the muscles aren't going to develop properly and you won't be able to walk on your own. You know? And so, for me, when we talk about just the portrayal of women, how we think about women, I think, first of all, it's so deeply embedded in so many of our faiths that we don't even realize how we've been conditioned, you know, to think and act out, you know. And I'm not to say that I'm above it, you know, like I think, you know, like it's the sort of thing where for a male to deal with his own misogyny, I don't think it's like, oh, I conquered it, now I'm done. That shit is every fucking moment. Because temptation, you be wanting to say shit all the time. You go, actually, maybe that's not a cool thing to say. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not to say that those thoughts or ideas don't arise. We live here, we're informed by that all the time. But the thing is that when you take the idea of the feminine out of the divine, you take, you turn worship into objectification. Because I don't believe that our focus would be any different. Our focus will remain on our mothers and sisters, and I mean, that's brilliant. Nobody else can look at you and be like, I birthed you. You know, James Brown in The Funky Drummer, you know, in that moment, that quintessential moment where he's pretty much puts the start button on hip hop. You know, he says, all right, can the drummer play something? I want everybody else to quiet down and we're gonna let the drummer play. You don't have to change what you got. I'm quoting him. You don't have to change what you got. I just want you to keep it like it is, because it's a mother. And then the right? It's a mother. God. You know? And I don't mean that in the idea of like, oh, it's the goddess and all that. I only use shit like that where, like, if a stick is bent this way and you want it to come center, you have to push it to the opposite extreme in order for it to come center. If you push it to the center, it's going to go like this. You got to push it to the opposite extreme for it to come center. And so that's why I play with the idea of God or the goddess or what have you in writings, like Said the Shotgun or what have you. It's not to say that I just put, you know, a dress on God or some shit. No, it's to say, you know, God is within or whatever, all of us. You know, my point is we have to keep our religions in perspective.
Counterfeit colonel of one-man army seeks heiress of wonder bread for deli of dogmas. Farm-raised catfish of fathomless beginning seeks mermaid of primordial waters for upstream marathon and depthless stream of consciousness. Armless conductor of styrofoam orchestra seeks brass section robot for radio broadcast of new symphony written in blood, C# for details. Dead organist seeks prenatal plastic surgeon for everybody knows job in purgatorial pursuit of skeletal bones sent down the wrong pipe. Handyman foot doctor with specialty in dog paws seeks Elizabeth Taylor type for long walks in circles and pumice stone skipping in the fountain of youth.
I became a father at the age of 24 when I was still in grad school, and before I did slam or recorded anything or published anything, which is to say that I was well aware that my daughter was going to be reading whatever the fuck I put out there or listening to it or watching it. And so I was like, oh shit, I can't fuck up. I want her to believe that, you know, art and expression is rewarding. I want her to know that that shit is possible in a magical sense. I want her to see that. I want her to know that you can believe in your dreams and that you can manifest them. And so I started bombarding my music with those ideas. And I was right, because I, you know, cut to, you know, 6 years later and I'm driving in my car, the kid's in the car seat, you know, and she's like, with her first little iPod or something, and she's totally just like, I gave hip hop to wipers when nobody was looking, like listening to Daddy in her headphones, you know. And so it was totally about that, and soon after that I had a son, and which, you know, in many ways balanced the equation in another way where I was like, oh God, I'm okay, and so. That pretty much made me hyper aware of what I was going to do. It also kept me, like, I just was singing a song which is called Grippo. The reason why that song is called Grippo is because when my daughter was a baby, my best friend, who came and moved in with us to help us out when she was a baby, we were up talking one night. Oh, maybe we were shrooming, and
that'll give you a lot of time.
Yeah, not with the baby. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Maybe she was pregnant with her. I have no idea. Yeah, it was during pregnancy, right? Shrooming with the baby, I wasn't paranoid at all. No, it was during the pregnancy. I mean, it was the mother that made it. Like, you guys do this, and so yeah, I date fun women, and we, at some point after dancing for hours, we were like, yo, what kind of music is our kids gonna listen to? And I looked at him and I said, Grippo. And I just made it up. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be fast, hard, and it's gonna have all the elements. The word didn't really exist yet, but what I was trying to say was crunk. You know? Right? Wow. Right? Wow. And so a few years later, I'm with my daughter. We live in LA now. That was in Brooklyn. We live in LA now, and I'm in a loft, which is to say that in my space where I record is not separate from where she's, you know, sitting down, and it's Saturday morning and she's watching cartoons, you know, and I make this beat. I'm in headphones in the corner, and she's watching cartoons, and it's a commercial break. And I'm like, I want to try something out, and I turn on the speakers and without like, hey, I'm trying to watch something, she's just like, crazy. And I call my best friend, I'm like, yo, I found Grippo. So good. And so I say that to say that my kids also inspire me. You know, they inspire me to stay silly, to keep my sense of humor, to have fun with it, so that I'm not just preaching. Because if I were, it'd be boring to them. You know what I'm saying? So I have to invent characters and have fun because at first I knew it was inevitable that they were going to pay attention. Now as they get older, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they paid a little bit of attention?
Yo, Saturn, I just finished, like, I write my own song, Dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Truly, she is. The last time I was there, she was off to do a performance, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's playing guitar and singing and taught herself to play piano, and my son is skateboarding and DJing, and, like, they're both like, yeah, old man. Poetry. You know?
I'm going to attempt to read this journal entry, but my handwriting is a little inspired. Some thoughts travel from distant places, are not born within our borders, and must pass through heightened security fortified by age-old tradition, the norms of societal culture, the misgivings of prejudice and misplaced judgment, in order to arrive peacefully in our minds. Our minds are high-walled fortresses where security councils gather to preserve comfort, enforce what we have been taught to value, and discern and determine what is real. We depend on our minds to guide and aid us from one day to the next. Some of us see our minds like muscles that we exercise with theorems, riddles, thoughts, and thought processes. We gather and store information. We play word games, rap, solve problems, work to the best of our abilities. We also accept or reject labels and categorizations at face value: black, white, terrorist, suspect, gay, straight, religious, Republican. We sometimes choose lifestyles based upon the accepted labels and categorizations, those that we identify with, which then take the form of beliefs. Beliefs are the police of the mind, which is to say, fuck the beliefs. They are either uniform or universal, armed or unarmed, They hold the power to confiscate material they consider hazardous or incredible. They profile experience and information as bullshit, nonsense, get the fuck out of here. They convene regularly with the Thought Security Council and act according to their constitution of what is real or unreal, possible or impossible, and they are sometimes and often mistaken. My question to you tonight is, what is your mind's immigration policy? Do you detain foreign thoughts that may have entered your mind illegally against the wishes of your parents, pastors, teachers, leaders, or perhaps simply against the security of your own comfort? Are there other thoughts that you have perhaps allowed to go unchecked, unquestioned, because they seem aligned with your so-called identity? Are you certain that you're not a victim of identity fraud?